Set everything up now? Ready?
Yes, yes, right.
Okay. Acha, so today we're going to talk about something called Airtable. So I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of background ke ye, why we're introducing this tool. Basically, if you look at project management, the way it's been developing, so project management has become a very collaborative field. ठीक है ना? तो that means that we've always been able to leverage technology. For instance, जब project management start हुई थी, it was something जो mainframes के ऊपर people used to do their project plans. But as PCs became available, so suddenly people had access to Primaveras and Microsoft projects, and a lot of project management tools जो वैसे available नहीं थे, desktop पे आ गए. We've always been looking for the for tools that can help us collect data. For instance, when if you're making schedules or आपके field, you have projects जो field के अंदर होते हैं, you have multiple people that need to be connected. So how do we get data from all of these places and consolidate and then create a picture of what is really going on in the project? Uh, so Airtable is one of these tools. The other tools that we also thought के chapter के अंदर we use the opportunity to introduce other tools जो इस series के अंदर बाद में आएंगे. And so some of the tools are Project Libre is a very interesting tool. It's an open source project management tool, which is kind of like Microsoft Project, but it's free. We're going to have that feature. Then we also think as project managers, you need to be able to, take good decisions all the time. So uske liye, there is Silver Decision, which is used for decision trees. So that's going to be coming up also. Then we are thinking about AHP, which is something that's very useful for procurement type of decisions, and then stats के होंगे. Because the thing is if you go through the project management training, your PMP भी करें, तो it will tell you that you need to use these tools, but then where do you get the understanding of how to use them? That's what the chapter does. Chapter fills in the gap and makes sure that you get access to these tools. So these trainings we feel are very fundamental, and which is why these trainings are free. So like this Airtable or इस तरह के subsequent sessions होंगे, these are going to be free sessions. Okay. So a little background. So I've been with the chapter since its inception. We started something like 16 years ago when we created the chapter in Lahore, and mashallah, the chapter has done very well over the years and produced, and it has focused a lot to create professionalism within the industry, and we focused on things like the PMP program for a very long time. जिसके भी बात कर रहे थे, because it's not just enough to see project management's been a field जिसके अंदर anyone can come in. It's not related to any specific domain, but it does require its sets of the set of tools and frameworks जो आपको आने चाहिए to be a good project manager. So that's what the chapter has been there for. So the chapter has about 200, roughly about 200 members, and it's a very active platform जिसके अंदर you can share experiences with seniors and get mentoring and things of that sort. So today agenda, uh, Airtable is really about communication, how to get data from different places, how to make sure that you can use it for projects. So it's not just for project management, it's used for a whole bunch of things, but specifically we're going to focus on things your project management is related. We look at some of the methods and tools that people have been using for collecting information on projects in the past. Then we look at uh, spreadsheets versus Airtable, because the closest thing जो आपको Airtable से नजर आती है is a spreadsheet. We'll see why there are differences between the two. And in the last part of today's session, I'll actually give you a live demo of Airtable. Airtable is one of those products which are called freemium products, which means that you can get a connection on Airtable, you can start using it, and only if you use it beyond a certain level of rows or data, so then you have to start paying for it. So for most purposes, छोटे मोटे कामों के लिए, the free version does pretty well. Okay, so I've been in the field for a very long time, project management, and if I look back at the 80s or the 90s, so the thing that we used to do was, okay, if we had projects, this kind of we needed to get information. So usually it was printouts. You basically had software like Primavera or Microsoft Project, उससे आप activity लिस्टें निकालते थे, and you would fax it to, take a printout and fax it to somebody, and then they would collect all the data and re-enter it again. Obviously, it was a slow process. It was an error-prone process because, um, fax की कभी quality अच्छी नहीं है, तो you couldn't read the numbers properly, and sometimes data entry के errors होते थे. So it was a huge problem to get this done. And especially if you were monitoring, and especially if you're in a PMO situation, there are multiple projects with देखने कर रहे हो and you're trying to monitor them, it used to be really difficult to keep the teams connected. Status reporting is इसलिए भी difficult थी because if you had multiple locations, तो हो सकता है कि somebody had a line जो down थी, whatever, and किसी का data पुराना है, किसी का नया data है, and then somebody has to sit down and put all of this together. What we really needed was something that helps us to keep the team connected, or status bhi jaldi reporter, but also documentation bhi ho jaye. Remember, when you're sending status reports, it also is creating documentation. When you call somebody and they tell you the project kaisa ja raha hai, that's just a conversation. You need some written record of what is happening in a project. So that's documentation. So, so the challenge really were three challenges in the past. One was speed. It used to take a long time to get the data across. Second, like I said, accuracy used to be a problem because you're re-entering data all the time. What if, because if somebody faxed you the data and then something changed over there, so they refax the data and then you try to see the कौन सा data change हुआ है. So integrity was an issue. Okay, you didn't know that you have the right version of the data or not. Was this the report that was supposed to be? Did you use the report that was sent earlier this morning or the one in afternoon with the correction? So that used to be a problem. And what that created was something called dead time. So dead time is a concept जो आता है from control systems, and the idea of dead time, think of dead time is okay, if you are so the really good analogy is taking a shower. If you're taking a shower and you notice with a tap, as you with a faucet, if you turn the knobs, so hot and cold immediately आपको पता चल जाता है. But when you're taking a shower, so when you turn the knobs, it takes a little longer before you find out if you've made the right adjustment. That time between the action and the response that you get is dead time. So when the dead time is, and you notice that when the dead time is longer and longer, so it becomes more and more difficult to take good decisions because the corrections that you made might not be relevant anymore. Otherwise you know how it works. एकदम बहुत ज़्यादा कर देंगे कम कर देंगे. So those are problems that. So it's the ideal situation is to try and cut this dead time as much as possible, so that the decision that you take is based on something that's as current as possible. 2006 के अंदर so 2000s में you finally started getting emails. So a lot of you started with email back. For some of us it didn't exist, but when it did exist, so then we figured the best way to transfer data would be spreadsheets के अंदर. So we would key in the data on a spreadsheet and email it to somebody. Again, the issue would always be that just spreadsheet aati thi, so somebody has to read that data off a spreadsheet and re-enter it or cut and paste the data, and that version controls were still a problem because somebody would send a spreadsheet and then say, oh, oops, I made a mistake, and then send it again, and you've already updated the schedule. 2006 to 15 तक you have something that I think we take it for granted, but it's phenomenal because in the past, if you if you wanted to be, if you wanted to have something live, which means you make a change and everyone can see it, you needed your own data servers and you needed your own data center. But now, with cloud and Google Sheets, something uh, that you type in would immediately be reflected somewhere else. So that was like a very big change with Google Sheets. So people started using Google Sheets on it, but that's limited. And another thing that's happening is a lot of people don't usually resort to using their laptops or desktops. They're pretty much mobiles लेकर फिर होते हैं fields के अंदर, and they can literally connect data right over there. So that's the new generation. The new generation is actually applications that leverage the cloud. They also leverage all the devices जो हमारे cloud के साथ connected हैं, whether it's your tablets or your phones and whatever, and also give you something that's a new movement that's being called the new code, the no code movement. So in the past, if you wanted कि कोई application आपको बना के दे, which would work on on your phone or something, so it was a costly affair, and somebody would go and make that application. Now the idea is, okay, why don't we give those kind of tools to the end user? Okay, you can actually create your own application, and that Airtable is actually one of the better implementation of this idea. So spreadsheets can there again, like I said, okay, limitations, they're flat, validation is an issue, and data integrity is an issue. So let me now share my screen. Okay. So here's can everyone see this? It's a spreadsheet.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So this is a
Yes, sir.
spreadsheet, and typically with a spreadsheet, what would happen is, okay, if I was trying to
Yes,
track
sir,
a
it's
project,
clearly shown.
uh, if I was trying to get, क्या कहते हैं, if इसमें data, I can simply enter the data. Let's say if somebody's shared this with me and send it across. But one of the issues with spreadsheets is that it has to be consolidated जब वापस जाएगी, because several people are sending data, to एक consolidation का issue है. The other issue is I could do this. I could send this back, and what happens when it goes up? So suddenly this is bad. These are bad values, right? So they make no sense. So when I consolidate, then something is going to crash, okay, and then I'll come back and try and figure out, okay, how to fix this. So so validation is a problem, integrity is a problem, because हो सकता है कि वो spreadsheet पुरानी भेज दी, नई भेज दी, whatever. You don't know the version of data that you have. Okay, so those are issues with a spreadsheet. So we move beyond this idea of a spreadsheet, but using the same interface, because the spreadsheet interface is very intuitive. People are very used to the spreadsheet interface. Excel, almost everyone used it. So basically the idea was, and this is what several companies have done. Airtable is one of them, but Google's working on something called just tables, and that's going to be that's beta now, and it's going to come later. And some of the other companies, but इनका थोड़ा सा model based होगा. So let's go to Airtable and see what this would look like. So this is, if you type in Airtable, this is what you see. And if I explain case में, so what you have in Airtable would be, so that's basically, so this tells you if you have shared your data किन किन लोगों से किया हुआ है, and I'll show you how that works. But these are basically called bases. Bases are, think of them as your apps. These are apps that you've created yourself. Okay? So in this case, I've created a couple of apps, and you can create these applications either through अभी हम करेंगे, we will create something new, but we can start off by importing an Excel sheet and then work on it, or a CSV or Google Sheet or whatever. So there's several ways to start up, or you can use templates. They have several templates that are available. So project trackers and content calendar, product catalog, and there are lots of them. These are being created all the time. Okay. Okay, so let me just click on a and start with a base. So if I start with a base, so I'm starting with scratch. So that's it. So the first thing that I will do is base के अंदर tables होते हैं. Think of tables um, as sets basically like a वो जो आपकी originally spreadsheet थी. Think of that as each table is sort of like a spreadsheet, which means it has certain fields, columns हैं इसके अंदर, and there's some kind of records in it. ठीक है? So let's start with this, and let's say okay, we call this a PMI PMO. Okay, so you can configure it, give it a color that you like, put something on it. So I'll put a chemistry thing on it. So there, so ये जो table आप बनाते हैं, table के अंदर you can see that then there are fields over here. ये columns हैं basically, and then you can put data into these columns. What I'll do now is to do the most basic thing. So delete all this, and we want to start with something called stakeholders. So let's say we want to start and have stakeholders key information. So typically what information would we keep? So we'll say, okay, so standard. So I would need the full name. And I need their, let's say, designation. And so you have all these options, and we look at some of different options kya karte hain. But this is a simple one. So this is single line of text. That's good enough for me. And then organization. So that's another field that I create. And then I'm going to put in a phone number. And for a phone number, it has a field type, phone number key. So I'm going to select this field here. And it has a field called email, which will make sure that it collects the right kind of emails. So I'm going to click there. And the last one, I want to put on a field ताकि मुझे पता चले if somebody is a PMI member or not. So PMI member. And so basically, this is a field जिसके अंदर I should get a yes or a no. So this is a checkbox field, and done. So that's done. And now I can actually go and type in information directly. Okay, so there we go. Acha, how do I now get collaboration on this? Well, what I can do right now is कि मुझे, so my requirement is कि I want to make sure कि I can collect information from all the stakeholders on a project, and instead of asking them कि email me your information and entering them, we're going to do something simple. So I'm going to create a form and then share this form with everyone. So I just created a form, and this gives me a link. So I'll put this link, copy this link, and I'm going to put this in the chat window. What I want you to do is to go to the chat window. Okay. Second. Okay. So I'm going to post this in the chat window. एक link आपको नजर आएगा chat window में. What I want you to do is to click on this link and enter this information and see what happens. So, okay, so everyone got the link chat window mein? Just click on it and you would see a form like this. Enter this information and see what happens. Okay, so great, Omar's there already. So I mean, this, as soon as you enter the information, is coming directly into the system. Okay, now think about this. If you were actually doing this through a spreadsheet or some other method, you'd have spend a long time to just consolidate this information. Great, so we're getting a lot of information here. That's good. Okay, so that's one feature. And this feature can be used for anything. You can actually, now I'm going to do is I'm going to create something जो projects track करने के लिए हम use कर सकते हैं. So let's just create a quick application to track our projects. And here's how we're going to do that. So I'm going to come over here and add a new table. So up, I need to add a table. I'm going to call this projects. Okay. So इसके अंदर, so if we have a project, then we'll customize this and have a project name. Okay, and then we have, so I don't need this field, don't need attachment right now. I'm going to create a couple of, so I need a project name, and I'm going to add something interesting, and that's called a collaborator. Okay, collaborator is another interesting feature. So what it does is, if I put in a collaborator, so this would be basically someone who has access to my Airtable. And as soon as I put in any information into my Airtable, which has a collaborator on it, so Airtable will automatically email that person and tell them that a new record has been created for you. So let's say my projects may create that. So let's create a couple of projects over here. So I'll say, cool. Okay. Say health facility, and then एक last term कर देते हैं, let's say IT center. So I have 3 projects now. I can now basically, wherever you have a project, you always have tasks in them. But before I do this, to my collaborators को पहले identify करता हूँ. So let's say Faisal is a collaborator on the school building. So Faisal is immediately going to get an email because Faisal की email इसमें record हुआ हुआ है. So let's say Shoaib is dealing with this, and this goes to myself. So एक तो वो चली गई. But now what we need to do is we need to create tasks. So let's go projects in the task होते हैं. Let's create a table for tasks. So here we are. So typically task पे क्या होगा? Task के table के अंदर you would have a name for that task. Okay, you would have
Start date and date.
delete. So delete this. Okay, so any task should have some kind of a start date. So we'll put a date there. It should have some finish date. That's another date. It should have some duration. And for duration, since we have the start and the finish date, so we can use a feature which is called a calculated field. So I'm going to formula field. So I put a formula which is date difference between the okay, so I have the finish date, start date, and I want a difference between them in days. Okay, so that's created. What else would I have? Okay, so if I should also know what project is this part of. So I'll say, okay, what project is this part of? Link this to project. Okay, so I want this to be linked to a project name. And then, so here, let's say if I come here, I can then, I can come and select the project. So school building, so this is part of the school building. And I can give this, okay, so design building, and then put in some date. Let's put in some to start and finish on this. And that duration is already calculated. So this is part of the school building. And then I can also put in a resource for this. So let's say I want to put a resource. So let's say I have a new table called resource. Now, if you by putting in this table, what I can do is I can actually have a set of resources defined. Let's say we have some, and So, and then some rates, charge rates for these resources. So let's put in a charge rate. That would be a field for a number field. Okay. Okay. It's like currency field. So इसके अंदर you can actually have any currency that you want आप डाल सकते हो. So I put in, so let's say I put in this, that's my charge rate for these two individuals. So if I go back to my tasks now, so basically once I put in the resource, I can pull up their charge rates. So let's say, and uske liye jo hai, so it allows you to do lookups basically. So it says, okay, so you can look up the, from the resource field, you can look up the rate for it. Okay, and then put formatting, done. So, यहाँ से हमने डाला था, so we had this resource Zen, and task के अंदर, as soon as we use Zen, so it can automatically then look up and get the rate for Zen. And then simply अगर मुझे total charges चाहिए, so all I need to do is to have a function that multiplies the duration with the rate to get the amount, billing amount. So that's if I put amount, so that would be, so that's okay. So that's a function again, formula, and that is rate multiplied by duration. There you go. Okay, so that's already done. Now इसके अंदर, so let's add a couple of more activities. I'll put construction and then put in, let's put some new data on it, and assign someone for this. So it's part of school building. It's assigned to Faisal, and automatically उसने calculate कर लिए जो. So just customize this field. अच्छा, formatting के अंदर you can always customize these fields to currency ताकि it's easier to. Yeah. Okay, so what now it's done is कि it's ये amount भी आ गए, and you can actually then let's take one more project ताकि, and we say, okay, so let's say we need to X-ray machine, and this is part of my, let's say, so my dates, and this is part of the health project, and let's assign this to Zen. So yeah, again, Acha, so now I can actually group this so that I can see the activities for any project separately. So I just do the grouping and I put this project standard, and it's just done that. It's now showing me the total amount of billing that I have for the health facility and the billing that I have for the school building. Now they have several other type of views. So this is just the basic stuff. Now, if I go to calendar, they have Gantt chart. So let's go to Gantt chart now. Okay, so it's already figured out. Okay, I have a start and a finish field, so that's done, and I create a. So I can now link these activities also. So I can link, for instance, इसको group करते हैं with the project. So I have two activities, design, building, and construction. So I can link them up. And उसका फायदा ये है कि as I increase this activity, तो वो automatically उस दूसरी activity को आगे move करता जाएगा. So that's already there. And now, typically what happens, so typically if you were doing a project, so you need to store information on an activity. For instance, अगर X-ray की है, तो you might want to have some attachments जिसके अंदर additional information हो. So we can do that. So that's another type of field that it supports. And now what I'll do is, if I go to the X-ray thing, and what I can do now is I'm going to drop. Okay, so I'll drop some information on it. Okay, so let's drag up here. Okay, so it'll basically upload information. जितना भी है, you can it can take up जो इनकी pro version है, they can take up to 2 GB of data on every activity. So that's huge. If I want to then look at this information, I can go to another view, which is the gallery view. If I go to the gallery view, so it will show me this information. इसके अंदर पड़ी हुई है, right? Show me this information. So this can, it's not just pictures, it can be complete drawings, it can be design work, whatever, PDFs, anything that you want, you can put in this field. Then you have the ability to go back to a project and try to figure out so I have this project now, and I want to figure out what is the total amount of spending on this project so far. So I'll just come here, and we have, so I'll say budget. And what I want to do is I want to actually roll up the budget from the tasks. So if I get all the amount and the sum. And so now it's like, actually, if you look at school building, so it's already showing you that there are 2 tasks over there, and it's giving you the total amount of budget for it, and access facility can be there. Um, Okay, so all of this is basically happening literally without any type of, we've done no coding whatsoever. So you can actually create a complete application without coding. One of the things that I use in my projects is uh, to track activities on the field by giving them some statuses. So typically the status that I want to give them is, okay, so I want to actually, like I said, if I was working in a spreadsheet, I won't be able to do these things. Plus, I can't control the data that goes into a set. Here, I can do that. So what kind of status do I want? So let's say what I really want is to be able to select between a number of things. Um, so I want, so nil means there's no status on this. In progress. Um, and complete. Okay, so I have 3 fields now. So say I can now say this activity is actually in progress. Here we have something that's got no status, and this has no status. I can now, typically what I ask people to do is have separate folders and then segregate the okay. So keep the activities that you're going to be working on right now in one folder. Keep the activities that you finished in another folder, and जो अभी तक नहीं हुई in a third folder. And what that allows me to do is when I go to a site, I can just pick up the one, just see what has been done and go and inspect it, or just see what is being worked on. So that's easy here. So that's a Kanban view. And we just do that. It's done. So now it's basically showing me that there's design and construction, no work so far. X-ray installation is in progress, and I can literally say, okay, so this is now being worked on. So I can just drag this into progress, and you can see that that view is going to be reflected here also. Okay, so it's updated itself. You can look at another way, which is basically the calendar view, and people can have their own calendars. So let's put in the finish date. Any additional fields? Like, don't need additional. Done. So this is basically giving you a calendar view of the work. I can then, it allows you to do a lot of stuff, a lot of customization. So I can just put color over here. So color calendar is showing me these activities in terms of the काम हुआ हुआ है कि नहीं हुआ हुआ. What is being worked on and what is still pending. Okay, so you can see that color code हुई हुई है इसके अंदर activities. ठीक है. If I go back, so let's see, stakeholder में कितने आ गए. About 31 people on it, so pretty good. Let me go to something which has some data in it. So this is another one. This can there's already data that exists over there. Yeah, you have projects. So another thing that I wanted to do was to segregate these projects and using a group by field. And to just do that, all I did was to add a new field called portfolio. And portfolio can there, if you see, I added two new possibilities, education and health. And let's say I have another one, which is called IT. So I want to put IT there. Now I have another option available. So up now when somebody goes over here, so they can automatically get these three options. That's it. So it's literally, uh, that's all it takes to get this done. And let's put in a new one. So data center and IT, and that's it. Again, if I put a collaborator now and I put myself on it, so what it would do is it would actually now generate an email, which I'm going to show you now. So can you see my email now? So here you can actually see Dr. Khalid added you to collaborative field of IT center and projects, and you can then go and view the records. So that shows me the record. Okay, I would request access and then I would get to that record. Okay, so as simple as that. And this is a really powerful feature. So one of the things that people are doing is to create a lot of automation using these tools, and which means that if you do certain actions, and then everything gets updated. Also, what you do is there's tracking. I talked about integrity. Integrity means the ability to find out if something's been changed. What if I came and changed this RO plant to RO plant with cooler? So how do we remember what happened here? Well, we can actually click here, and you can see that what it does is it maintains a history of every change that you made. So this was originally created by me, and then it shows that it's been edited by me, and the updated value is RO plant with cooler. I can actually have a conversation with people who are working on this record and just send a comment to someone. And then just send this message across to whoever I want to send it to. Done. So this message actually goes to Shoaib, and then when Shoaib will get an email which says that I have this query over here, and he can actually come and answer this query right here on this activity form. Okay. Now, since I have a portfolio, since I've created a portfolio here, so it's very easy for me to now use grouping to see things according to the portfolio. That's it. It's showing me the portfolio view. So back over here, so here we have the task view again for, we have three different projects. This is the task view. It can be grouped. One of the things that you want to do is to group it in a way where each resource has their own view. So it allows you to create multiple views. So what I'm going to do now is to make a copy of this view and customize it for, let's say, a particular person. So I'll say, okay, great. So if it's Zan's view, then what I need to do is to uh, make sure that I filter it so only Zan needs to look at it. So now, basically, all the activities that belong to Zend are going to be visible in this view. So and then this view can actually be shared. So I can actually go ahead and share this particular view by going here. I can create a view which is only for Zan and send it to Zan for his comments. And it's like a really great way of making sure that if you have a large team, each person can have their own view instead of actually going in to the whole thing and trying to figure out what they're supposed to do. Okay. Um, I have another view that I've created, and this is a resource view. So it kind of tells me uh, how much is been assigned to every resource and what is the total billing that I have and what's the billing for each resource. So it's coming over there. Then there's the Gantt chart view that we looked at. So again, that's there. And we have the gallery. This is another kind of view. And what this does is it shows you all the pictures that been created in any view. So that those are visible over here. Okay. You have this the ability to actually take this, and we're actually using it in that way. You can actually put this on a smartphone, and people can be updating activities and taking pictures and recording GPS coordinates. So you also know that they're actually at the site when they're doing the reporting with the GPS coordinates. So you can actually capture those GPS coordinates within the records. Okay. Again, so Kanban. Here's another one, which is you can have people request tasks. And in this case, if I send this across to, okay, so let's create this and see if you can use that one. So I'm going to create a new tasks. So let's create a form, and it's very simple. So I create a new view. It's a form. And what I want here is I want this to be the task name. And so you identify the project, and right now I don't want this. So I don't want the start and the finish. So let's get rid of these. Get rid of and resource also. I don't want someone to. I'll assign this at my place. So let's leave that out. And let's see. Okay. Okay. So this is basically a task request. And if I wanted this form to go out, all I have to do is um, to get the share form, and we get this. Okay, so give it. So let me put this in the chat window and see if you can type in a task request. There you go. So you use that and put in task requests. Can everyone see the chat windows? Can there? I think I click on the task request and submit it. Oh, okay. I think I didn't put it to everyone. Just a minute. Okay, here you go. Here you go. Click on this and put in a task request.
Here's the top search result.
Okay, there you go. So these are, so this can be used to have your team members put in a task request, and then you can go ahead and assign this to a particular project, and you can then assign the resources that you require for it, set a duration and whatever. So, okay, so my project looks, it's got a lot of new tasks on it now. Okay. So as simple as that. That's the beauty of this tool, that you can so you can use this tool for we're using it for two or three things. We're using it for tracking our IPCs. Let me see if I can give you a view of how that works. So, okay, so what we have is we have a bill of quantities. So this is all the work that needs to be done on the project. So, and basically you have a title, you have an ID that we've assigned, description of that work, for instance, excavation in foundation, including backfill and excavated material. Then we have a quantity, and then it's, so this is 77,000 cubic feet, a rate that gives us the amount. And then you have the IPCs. The IPCs are the interim payment certificates. So if you look at the IPCs over here, so basically, so let's say IPC 001, and then it has details. So what do we have in IPC 001? Let me just group this by IPC. Okay, there you go. So this is 01, and yeah, IPC 1. And this tells you that this excavation, this is the rate, okay, and this is the quantity from the BOQ, this is the build quantity, this is the build amount, and the applied quantity. And this then gets updated. So this keeps getting updated when this is a new bill comes in. This is entered by the team, and that gives us the total amount for the IPC, build amount, approved amount, variation, retention money, payable, taxes, net amount, and then status, whether it's been paid or not. And also, it from the BOQ point of view, it tells us how much of the BOQ has been completed. So it gives you a good idea of how the project is doing. So we know that if something is 100% it's complete. If it's 109%, that means that the initial estimate was on the lower side, and it's so the more work has been done, which is typical in plus minus a certain percentage. So so we're using it for that, and then we are using it for basically, and then we're using it for creating tasks and managing projects on the site. So let's go here. So we had the stakeholders data over here. दूसरा वाला जो था, let's go there. So we have all these records here, okay? So all I need to do is to download CSV. Okay, and that's done. So here you go. And there you go. So all the data that we RS been another.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's the data. So that's pretty simple, and it's two ways. So you can actually take data from here and then just upload into Airtable. Dono tarah bahut easy hai.
Okay. Is it basically replacement of Excel or MS project?
I would say no. So I'll tell you, किस तरह होता है. If you are actually when you're working on a project, so whether you're using I mean we're using Primavera on our project, जिसके अंदर हम इसको use कर रहे हैं. When you're using Primavera or Excel, तो क्या होता है? You're basically using a scheduling software जो will tell you कि कौन से tasks हैं और कब होने. But then you need a lot more details कि हर task के अंदर क्या होना है. So and you need people to be able to report on those tasks. Okay? So what this does is, this is in addition to those tools. This is where we capture a lot of additional data. Okay? Whether it's like capturing pictures of the site, tasks ke upar kya ho raha hai, any issues, any comments, or communication that we want on this with the people on the site on this particular activity, wo isme chali jati hai. And then finally, every week we take the data, we take the completion date, put them into Primavera and get an update. Okay? So you can't use Primavera or Microsoft for that kind of stuff. It won't. If you did use it, it would be too expensive, and it would be the learning curve on the site would be pretty high. This tool actually fills that gap, and you still need the project management software. So this tool would collect data, and then you can use in the project management tool to update. But by itself, a project management tool isn't enough. usually जो लोग कर रहे होते हैं Primavera, then they're sending emails back and forth or maintaining Excel sheets in any case. Okay, thank you everyone and goodbye.
Thank you.